I'm currently doing a series going through all of the Spider-Man games up to the release of Spider-Man 2, hopefully this year, but we've seen no gameplay, but you know, apparently it's still going. And it's undeniable that Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, GameCube, you know, all those consoles, was just a industry trend setter, okay? Everyone wanted to be Spider-Man 2. But going back now, is it as good as it used to be? Does it hold up today? And obviously, pizza time, we gotta do pizza time. Pizza time is always a necessity on Spider-Man 2 videos. Let's just go through it, let's see how it holds up. Is the mission design any good? How are the upgrades? How's the replayability? And is it still the greatest Spider-Man game of all time? Spoiler alert, I don't think it is anymore, but there's a caveat to that. But we'll get to it. So as I said, Spider-Man 2 in 2004 made waves across the industry. Everyone was playing it. Everyone. I first found it when my cousin had a PS2 and I visited his place when I was like 4 or 5, and he was playing this game that I'd never seen before. It's Spider-Man. It looks so much cooler than what I had previously played on like this TV thing. It's like straight to TV. You plug it in and you have like a joystick or something. It's fucking awesome. And that was when I was first introduced to Spider-Man 2, and to say that it left a big impact on me would be an understatement. I played that game every single year, pretty much every day up until like 2007 or whatever, and then from then on I played it like once a year. Every time I got a chance with my PS2. Now, luckily with emulation, yes, I'm using an emulator for the footage because it looks better than it would in 2004, I can replay it again. And I played it again last year, and now I'm playing it again this year, and I really enjoyed myself. So let's start with the story. So the story follows the film, naturally, but it sprinkles in extra villains, you know, extra side plots, as most movie tie-in games do. Is it any good though? Not really, it's kind of bad. Storytelling wasn't really important for games back then. I mean, you could argue it kind of was with certain games. Metal Gear Solid, GTA games were starting to sprinkle in the open world stuff with story as well. But it wasn't really like the go-to. You didn't really care about the story back then. But that being said, for a movie tie-in game, it does it kind of well, but it also kind of sucks. Let me explain. So Spider-Man 2 loosely follows the main story. It brings in all the elements like Doc Ock and all the set pieces, but it does a lot of things better than the stuff it adapts. So the Doc Ock stuff isn't great, but the stuff that they do outside of the story is way better. They introduced Black Cat. We all remember Black Cat. Come on, don't lie to me. You know why you remember Black Cat. You know why.
Oh boy, yeah.
But they also brought in Mysterio. Quentin Beck. That was a big side plot in this game, and I actually really enjoyed it despite one mission being incredibly annoying, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We also brought in Rhino, as well as another like agency subplot with Black Cat, as well as Shocker, and it all combines into one big plot basically. But it loosely follows the story. Voice acting, oh my god, it's terrible. It is terrible. Tobey Maguire, admittedly, Tobey Maguire is significantly worse in Spider-Man 3, the game. I've played that as well recently. He's so much worse than that, but here, you know, he's doing a Tobey Maguire. He talks like this. MJ, oh no, I'm gonna be late to MJ's play. What can I do? You know, he talks like that.
Oh no. At my birthday dinner, I promised MJ I would meet her this evening.
But honestly, he's probably the best voice actor in the game, I can't lie. Kirsten Dunst, I couldn't even tell it was her in the game, to be honest, I couldn't tell. James Franco does not reprise his role either. He never seemed to be in the games very often. I don't even think he was in Spider-Man 3 if I remember correctly.
Harry, pay up.
All right. Are you sleeping all right, Pete? You look beat.
Just some late nights.
Still palling around with that murdering bug?
Harry, I know you think Spider-Man killed your dad.
He did kill my dad. Someday I'll get him for it, too.
Thank God for that, because he's also terrible in that game. But he doesn't reprise his role. Alvaro Molina comes back for Doc Ock, which is pretty cool. And that's about it for the voice acting. Like, there's not much to talk about. Black Cat, actually, her voice actor did actually a really good job. Like, there was some real emotion around it, which was surprising. When you're working with Tobey Maguire, though, the chemistry just isn't there, so it sucked. But the story itself, not great, to be honest. But the missions within the story, that's something else to talk about. Now, the level design is naturally not the greatest, okay? This is an open world game. This was like one of the first open world games that was like fully explorable city with a full single player story and everything. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a pass. But today's standards, obviously, it's blown out of the water. A lot of games out there are so much better than this. Spider-Man 2018, Miles Morales, Web of Shadows in some cases, Shattered Dimensions as a single player like linear mission story, way better. But, you know, it's still got some real charm to it, you know? A lot of the missions will take you out of the open world into these secluded sections, like the Shocker boss fights. You go into a specific area, it's like a circle in one of the boss fights, and you just swing around and you beat them up. It's nothing special. But the Quentin Beck missions, those are the ones I want to talk about the most. They're the coolest, okay? But despite one of them being the most annoying mission in the entire game, in my opinion, the mission where you have to go in and basically show the world that you're not a fraud as Spider-Man, and there's like these different mini games you have to do, and one of them is really annoying when he's in the cannon and he goes when you have to go through it, and I just found it really irritating because it's so slow. You can't really do anything about it. There's only one way to beat it. I did find a way to cheese it eventually, but you know, it's annoying. But the Quentin Beck missions are just so entertaining. Like, there's one point where you get to swing over to Lady Liberty, I think she's called, and you have to swing over using his little drone things, and it's just really cool. It's really enjoyable to do. And there's also a mission where you have to fight like mirror images of Spider-Man. They come out the glass. It makes absolutely no sense, but this is when the game designers got really creative with the missions, because obviously he's an illusionist, and he's a magician or whatever, and he wants to look like he's got powers and stuff. So what they do with the missions is like they invert the mission design, so you're upside down, and then you have to fight these like clown things that every time you punch them they swing back and then they punch you again. You have to dodge it in time, and I found that really interesting, and it's easily the best missions in the game. Where it does go flat though is with the boss fights and how they've designed those missions, specifically the final boss fight with Doc Ock. It's terrible. It's not terrible, but it's just irritating to play, you know what I mean? What happens with the Doc Ock mission is you have like 7 different controls you have to click while Doc Ock chases you, and his little machine, well, not little, big machine, is going to try and kill you because it expands. And that was really irritating. We'll get to the combat system. But overall, the mission design, honestly, for a 2004 open world game, I don't think it's bad at all, okay? For today's standards, yeah, it's pretty bad. But for back then, it's very easy to see why so many people were replaying this game pretty much every day. Everyone was talking about it, everyone wanted it, until Ultimate Spider-Man came out and, you know, showed everyone, you know, some things can be better. Although, I've got a hot take about that game that, you know, I'll be talking about that in the next video whenever I do another Spider-Man video. People aren't going to like me for my opinion on that, but we'll you know, I've got to be real. Anyway, point is, mission design, pretty damn good. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely think it's worth playing. Now, just give it a shot. You may not enjoy it, but you know, it's a short game. The open world stuff, despite being incredibly repetitive, it's pretty much the foundation for everything you see in the new Spider-Man games. So Spider-Man 2018, with those random events that happen, Spider-Man 2 did it, okay? So as you explore the open world and you start swinging, you hear people go, "Spider-Man! Oh my god, my balloon! Oh, help me, Spider-Man! Spider-Man, help me! What am I going to do?"
His car stolen at gunpoint.
And you have to go down there and tap square, and then they give you a mission. Usually the mission is save a guy from a fallen building, take a guy to a hospital, stop an armored car robbery, or there are people sinking in a ship when they could just, you know, swim. But, you know, I don't live in New York, so I don't know how bad that water is. It's probably full of radiation, guys. Don't go in that water. I wouldn't risk it anyway. Sorry, New Yorkers. I apologize. It's true. And each of those missions are incredibly repetitive because they happen over the course of the game, especially when you're trying to upgrade your skills. But it gets the job done, you know what I mean? It's enjoyable to play for a long time, especially with the upgrade system. And I'm going to talk about the upgrade system now, because the open world stuff, you swing around and you stop crimes. That's literally it, apart from collectibles, okay? The upgrade system is where this game really shines though. While it isn't the most in-depth upgrade system where you have loads of different abilities and, you know, you can upgrade over the course of the game, it's good enough and it's entertaining, and it doesn't like overextend your playtime. It does what it needs to do every time you complete a main mission. You complete a main mission, you go get hero points in the open world, and then you upgrade to start the next mission. And you can upgrade your swing speed, your combat attacks, air tricks, webbing, because you control your web, so you can web up 4 guys. I really hope Spider-Man 2 allows you to control your webbing rather than pressing R1, and it does it for you. Didn't like that, to be honest. So that was really, really cool. One of my favorite upgrades is when you can swing, you can web someone up and you can swing them on a pole and just leave them dangling there. I thought that was really cool, and it definitely should return in the new Spider-Man games. But along with all that is the combat system with the upgrades you can get with that. And I think it does its job really well. I think it just does enough. You can unlock different combo endings, so you don't go into like a cutscene, well, not a cutscene, but a finishing animation for this game. That doesn't happen. It doesn't take you out of it. Everything you do is in-game, constantly. There's no cinematic cutbacks or whatever. I like that. As much as I like Spider-Man 2018, Miles Morales, I feel like the finishers kind of take away from the momentum of the gameplay just to look cool. And they do look cool, but I'd rather be feeling cool rather than looking cool, you know what I mean? And Spider-Man does that. You've got uppercuts, you've got spinning attacks, you've got different like web combos. You can start punching a guy with square, and then you press triangle, and then you can flip him that way, and then you can spin him around, and you're in control of it. You're always in control of it. It's all physics based, and I really like that. Where it does lack though is the boss fights. As I mentioned, the mission design for boss fights is already bad enough, but when it comes to combat with boss fights, it's just not it. You'll often swing away from him, come at him, punch him a couple times, swing away, punch him, swing away, punch him, swing away, punch him, and the game will be quite cheap at times if you're not careful, which is just not a very entertaining boss fight system, you know what I mean? That being said about Doc Ock, as much as I don't like his boss fights, what they do with the 4 tentacles I thought was really cool. So you have to counter each tentacle, and every time you counter them, you web them down, and so he's stuck basically, and that's when you can get a few hits in, but he'll break out and punish you if you're not careful. And I thought, you know, that was a good foundation. And while I do like Spider-Man 2018, as I said, the boss fights in that game aren't particularly great either. You know what I mean? It's something that's always been a struggle for Spider-Man games, I think. Even Shattered Dimensions, the boss fights in there, I didn't think were great, to be honest with you. But it gets the job done. So as much as I'd like the boss fights to be more fleshed out, once again, 2004. This is a really good 2004 game, you know what I mean? But it also shows how crazy the industry leapt forward with the Xbox 360 and PS3, because 4 years later you had Batman Arkham Asylum. You know, it looked way better than Spider-Man, played way better than Spider-Man, it was more atmospheric. It's just insane how quick the industry evolved, and, you know, I just wish the industry would do that now. It's getting a bit dead, isn't it, really? You know, new games. It's just the same thing over and over again. Play indies, guys. Play indies. I always review AAA games. Do you want to see indies? Let me know if you want to see indie games. I want to do indie games. And lastly, we're going to talk about the swinging. This is what I think Spider-Man 2 still is the king at doing, swinging. Okay, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. Spider-Man 2018 swinging, it's good. Miles Morales swinging, it's good, but it's animation based. People say, well, it's a mix of physics and animation. It's not. Yes, okay, physics are in there, but you're so limited in what you can do in those games. And that goes for the TASM games as well. But Spider-Man 2, to this day, still has the best web swinging. Web of Shadows came close, but Spider-Man just has that charm to it, you know what I mean? You're watching the same animation over and over again. He does the same animation every time, but it still feels fresh to you, because you never know where you're gonna go. You could mess up slightly on the analog stick and you go flying left, or you're spinning back around, or you can just quickly turn around while using every building in your sight, and it just feels natural, it feels smooth, it feels good, and it feels like you're actually in control and nothing is like blocking you. If you don't throw your web out in time, you're gonna die from fall damage. If you swing into a building, you're gonna stop swinging, you know what I mean? I prefer that. Sure, it's not great for people that just want a casual sit down, but there was 2 options for the swing. You had easy mode and then you had the normal swinging, which is exactly what Spider-Man 2018 should have had, but they didn't seem to bother. Obviously, they created a whole new engine and everything, so I think we'll see that in Spider-Man 2. But the point is, Spider-Man 2 2004 still has the best swinging system. It still is the GOAT of Spider-Man games for me. Web of Shadows came close with the swinging. Like, I really enjoy Web of Shadows swinging a lot. It's really fun, but you know, it didn't have that charm to it for me. And we'll talk about Web of Shadows in like 3 Spider-Man videos time, because I'm going to do Ultimate Spider-Man, Spider-Man Friend of Work, Spider-Man 3, and then Web of Shadows. 4 videos time. 4 videos. So is Spider-Man 2 still great? I think you already know my answer, because you've watched it up to now. Yeah, it absolutely is still great. It may have not aged particularly well over the years, but I still think if you played it as a kid, you're still going to enjoy it now, even if it's just nostalgia. And if you've never played it before, give it a shot, you know? If you're not playing old games, play old games. It will kind of blow your mind how much better they were despite age, you know what I mean? I'm going to be doing a few more videos very soon. I'm moving in and out of my house, so, you know, it's a bit of a struggle, but I'll get it done. Watch Dogs 1 review coming very soon. Thank you for watching. Keep it classic. Reviewies. I'm going to call you reviewies. Okay, bye-bye.